James Kaufman, World News Report today, May 16th, 2025. God bless you and yours, no matter where you are in the world. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell for critical future updates. Biden could not even recognize George Clooney, the fundraiser host. The left has been purposely hiding the fact that Joe Mental has declined mentally over the last several years dramatically. And they were going to push him into the presidency in a wheelchair. That was their actual plan. That tells you everything. He had no business running our country and probably had no say in the running of our country. Let's listen.
This morning, a new book reveals President Biden did not recognize megastar George Clooney at a June 2024 campaign fundraiser, a fundraiser that Clooney personally co-hosted for the president's re-election bid. This is just one of the many really stunning details in the new book titled Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again by Alex Thompson and CNN's own Jake Tapper. Tapper sat down with Clooney a few weeks ago. Remember, we played part of that then, but he also asked him how this moment led him to write his now very famous op-ed.
It was a civic duty because I found that people on my side of the street, I'm a Democrat. I was a Democrat in Kentucky, so I get it. When I saw people on my side of the street not telling the truth, I thought that was time to...
Are people still mad at you for that?
Some people, sure. It's okay.
With us now is CNN anchor, chief Washington correspondent, and fantastic author, Jake Tapper. Jake, tell us more about that moment between President Biden and George Clooney and how it ultimately led...
Now, we're supposed to give props to Tapper and his crew over on CNN for hiding it. This is so confusing to me.
To Biden dropping out of the race.
So, thanks so much for having me, John. So, President Biden came into that Los Angeles fundraiser June 15th, and behind the scenes, there were little tiny fundraisers for the big donors. There was the event on stage with Jimmy Kimmel and Barack Obama, but then also behind the scenes, photographs and smaller speeches for big donors. And it was there that President Biden walked over to George Clooney, and Clooney realized, and other people witnessing realized, that Biden did not recognize him. This despite the fact that they'd known each other since roughly after 9/11. They'd had many meetings when Biden was vice president. They'd known each other for a long time.
Because Clooney's been CIA for the last 30 years.
Biden awarded him a Kennedy Center award in December 2022. And obviously, Clooney was throwing this fundraiser for him, a record-setting fundraiser. And Biden was just walking around saying, hello, thanks for being here, hello, thanks for being here. And an aide said, you know George. And the president was like, yeah, sure.
Remember the boat with a little Asian girl with Barack Obama and Clooney on it. That tells you everything you need to know.
How are you? Thanks for being here. And the aide had to say, no, George Clooney. And it was just shocking for everyone involved. And in fact, it wasn't just those in that specific conversation that were shocked. President Obama was there. He was stunned. He attributed it to the rough schedule that Biden had going from Europe to Delaware, back to Europe, and then to LA. But he realized...
Of course, Barack wanted a fourth or fifth term, right? What a sleazeball Barack Obama is. He makes poor Biden look like a chump.
Later on that it wasn't just the schedule that was the issue.
Look, and you bring up President Obama because there was a moment at that fundraiser, and that fundraiser really was a key moment for a lot of people in this history, which you so brilliantly document. But President Biden walked down to the end of the stage of this fundraiser for a moment. You can see it right there, and it seemed to stare a little blankly into the crowd, and then President Obama tugged on him. You saw that tug and led him off the stage. So you just said you spoke to a lot of people who were there for that. What else did they tell you about it?
Well, Obama's side of that story is he wasn't sure what was going on, but he just wanted to get out of there, and he wasn't going to get out of there without Biden, so he grabbed him, and it was more just his impatience than anything else. But other people who were there, and we should note that the Biden White House falsely, when people showed that clip and asked what was going on, said it was a cheap fake. They did this all the time when there was video that seemed to show Biden acting in an odd or unusual, seemingly out of the way. We would call it a cheap fake. It was not fake. It was actual video. And people in the arena who did not see the horrifying scene behind the stage, but in the arena, Congresswoman Annie Custer, John Favreau, former Obama chief speechwriter, and others, just from that event and Biden walking towards the edge of the stage, thought, oh my God, something is wrong here. He's not going to make it.
So, Jake, you've been at this journalism business for a long time, and you know that whenever...
Jake's not a journalist. He's a CIA agent pretending to be a journalist, as all CNN plants are, period.
Or you go on a limb like you are right now, you get criticism from a whole lot of people. What do you think of conservatives now criticizing you and the media in general for how President Biden was covered during his administration?
I think some of the criticism is fair, to be honest, of me. Certainly I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but knowing then what I know now, I look back at my coverage during the Biden years, and I did cover some of these issues, but not enough. I look back on it with humility. What we learned through our reporting is that starting around 2019, 2020, there were two Bidens.
Should we give you some kind of award or something like we did the Times and the Post?
There was a Biden that was perfectly workable, serviceable, seemed fine, and then there was a non-functioning one that couldn't come up with names of top aides, that would lose his train of thought to an alarming degree. And that non-functioning Biden reared his head increasingly over and over. It really seemed to exacerbate and get much worse in 2023, 2024. And what Alex Thompson and I were able to uncover through this reporting, almost all with just Democratic insiders and operatives, and almost all of which only happened after the election because they wouldn't be candid until after the election. What we learned stunned us, shocked us. And look, while it was very important, and I'm not dismissing the coverage of Biden tripping on stage or falling off his bike, that was obviously indicative of something serious that was going on. I think what we learned about the non-functioning Biden rearing his head increasingly, not being able to come up with the name of George Clooney, not being able to come up with the name of top aides in the White House, I think that really reveals something even more significant, something even more disturbing about a president that was not what we, the American people, should expect and be able to demand, which is somebody who is there with it 24/7, there for the 2 a.m. emergency phone call in the middle of the night.
Yeah, the not coming up with aides names was not something I had seen until this morning. Jake, the book comes out officially, May 20th. We keep learning more pieces of this every day. We look forward to talking to you more. Excellent work as always. Thanks for coming.
In conclusion, Jake Tapper's a slime ball, but not as big of a slime ball as Barack Obama. He used an invalid to, create a third term for himself. If y'all don't get that, y'all never get anything. God bless. Share and subscribe, and always remember, anything's possible. Bizarro word.